So we're here in the studio. Welcome to American Voices. We have our guest, Alan Serna, who's a candidate for District 7 in the city of El Paso. Alan, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Paul. Thanks for having me.
You are running for city council. You have an incumbent challenger, along with a couple of other folks. Um, Tell us a little bit about yourself, Alan, and then we're going to jump right into some topics.
All right. Well, I'm the owner of El Paso Land and Power, and it's a small company that does a lot of just mostly commercial and industrial landscape management type of application. And I also own a tree farm. So, like, I'm an environmentalist also that actually grows his own trees. And I've been on a couple of boards, environmental boards for over the last 30 years in El Paso. And I was nominated in 2014 for the Lawrence Anderson Lifetime Achievement Award for donating like about 1,400 trees to El Paso over a
Awesome.
20-year period.
Yeah, I know that the environment is a huge part of your business. So thank you very much for everything you've done, for our community here the last 3 decades. I mean, that's impressive.
Thank you.
Business owner, you're running for office. Now you're putting yourself out there. So thank you so much for that. I know one of your key issues are lowering taxes. So let's jump right in. Tell us about the tax rate here in El Paso. Why is that important to you? Why is that one of your top points for the citizens of District 7?
Well, that's the number one issue in the district and probably within the city is the high taxes that we have. And we
Sure.
basically have high taxes for one reason. We don't have a tourist economy like everybody else. Back in the 80s, one of the mayors gave away Six Flags and SeaWorld, and now they gave it away to San Antonio. Now San Antonio makes $19.2 billion a year in tourism revenue, and their tax rate is 54.1 cents per every $100 value. Austin has a $8.2 billion tourism revenue economy, and they have a 40.1 cent. And we don't have any tourism economy, so we have an 81.1 cent for every $100 value tax rate, which is ridiculous.
So I know we try to compare like different taxes in different communities. Speak to us about that. I know you're a bit of an expert, in this area. Talk to us about the taxes because I know we have our hotel, motel
hot
tax, the hot tax, right? And so that's one of the gauges for funding these, events, trying to bring in concerts, etc. How does El Paso fare with these other communities in Texas
Well, it's
or in the
not
country for that?
it's not even a competition. You see, what happened when they gave away the Six Flags and the SeaWorld and all that was two things happened. Number one, it created a brain drain, and people like me left.
Hmm.
I mean, I came back because I like menudo. I miss my family and all the carnalismo that the city has to offer and all the culture and everything. I miss that. I get that. I don't mind living in the high desert or whatever. I love El Paso. Another thing that happened that the people that did stay here, there was a lot of people that bought into that. Well, it's not fair to call it what I call it, refer it to, and we'll leave it at that. But people here that stayed here, they're pretty much they ended up becoming opposed to every single thing. So whatever tourism came in or whatever venue came in or tried to come in, and over the last 40 years, there's always been a boisterous opposition group to just rise up and smash it down.
Right.
From downtown redevelopment to the raising of Bassett Center and the putting of the 36,000 seat stadium to hold the Coyotes, the ice hockey team that ended up going to Phoenix, and even right down to the ballpark, and the arena recently, a 12-year arena. And so basically that's what the people were doing, but they're killing themselves. They're shooting themselves in the foot because tourism is now the second largest industry in the world besides the petroleum industry.
Right.
People would rather go on vacation, even if it's just regionally for a couple of days, and have things to do than work. I mean, that's just the way the reality is, And it's like me, people like me that own our own homes, that already paid our own homes. I have to put money in an account every month so that I can have my taxes, on time and not be late with my taxes or anything like that. So basically, there's a lot of ways to make up the difference if we do that. There's a lot of little things that we can do. I have a master's in political science and urban economics.
Hmm.
So pretty much I know what other cities have done to lower taxes and stuff. And we're not asking to recreate the wheel here or anything like that. I'm saying let's use what other people have done, maybe fine tune it to our particular situation. But one of the ideas that I have is let's put a 1.75% consumption tax on alcohol and tobacco products.
Okay.
And I figure these are the people that end up with cancer. These are the people that end up going to UMC without insurance and getting treatment and stuff. And I hate to sound callous or anything, and I don't want to be, because I pray for people like that. But I mean, there needs to be some kind of consumption tax to offset the tax breaks that we're going to give the seniors and the people that are retired on a fixed budget. I think that's just one of the ways to do it.
And you bring some fresh ideas. You're a business owner. You get it. You understand economic development. And so, I appreciate that. The savings that the seniors are going to have, by the way, are going to be, monies that they can keep in their pockets and they can use for recreation. They can put back into the community, or maybe they want to go on a little vacation. So they're going to have a savings by your being able to freeze that. In this region, there's a lot of folks that are retiring. There's a lot of military, so we want to respect that. And I think one of the ways to do that is exactly what you're proposing, Alan. So I think that's a great idea. Folks, 62 and older on a fixed income, 40,000 or less. That's a fantastic idea.
Thank you.
Again, my guest, Alan Serna, candidate for District 7, wanting to lower taxes, freeze taxes, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Welcome back to American Voices. We're here with our guest, Alan Serna, running for District 7 in the city of El Paso. I'm your host, Paul De La Pena. Alan, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for running for office.
Thank you, Paul. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you so much. In a previous segment, we talked about lowering taxes. Thank you so much for that, because we are hammered in this community by high taxes, by the HOTS tax. We have some bond elections coming up. Guess what? We're going to be hit with more fees, more taxes. So I want to talk about something different in this segment, and that's the increase of basic services and growing that out. And as a political scientist, I'm thinking, we have to talk about city leadership, because we're in another segue. And so hopefully you'll get on city council and be a part of the new leadership in El Paso City. So we're also going to be electing our city mayor. So maybe you want to speak to us about the strong mayor, weak mayor form of government. We've gone through some changes. We have a new city manager that was just hired, Dion Mack, who is actually has some world experience.
Yeah.
And she's been here. She's been running a bunch of departments. Give us your philosophy. If you're going to be elected to City Council District 7, that's Serna for 7.com. Alan, tell us about that.
Well, city leadership is important, and a strong mayor government is what we've had until recently, when we did start going towards a city manager type of government. It hasn't always worked out pretty good for El Paso, because as we've seen in the past, you have mayors that get something like a gift like Six Flags, and then they end up saying stuff like, "Oh, I cannot foresee how 515,000 people can support such a venue, therefore I respectfully decline the offer." So that's a strong mayor that makes decisions for everyone.
Right.
I think what has to happen now is Dion Mack is a very impressive lady, very intelligent, lots of energy. I look forward to working with her and learning from her. And I think it shouldn't be a strong mayor form of government, but it should be a collaboration, kind of like a checks and balances type of situation.
Well, like what they do in San Antonio, they have a city manager over there, and the city council, they vote, but they get recommendations. They ask for professional opinions, and they bring all that to the table, and they have a discussion. And they're like, what are we going to do to move the city forward? So, in that community, they protect their historical buildings. They brought in Six Flags. They have the Riverwalk. They have all these different elements, and then they broaden that out to the medical field. So we're doing a lot of what that community is doing. Very similar communities, very high rates of Hispanics, right, in our community. Very similar to San Antonio, but they're not landlocked like we are. So they have a different vision. And would you like to see that on City Council here in El Paso?
I would like to see a more progressive city council.
Yeah.
I would like to see a city council that's pro-growth, pro-development.
Yeah.
I think development is very important to the equation. And I'm really big on tourism, because I've seen it work. I've studied it for years and stuff. I know what other communities have been doing with it. And, it can offset the taxes really well, as you've seen with examples of San Antonio and Austin that I gave you.
Right.
So basically what we need to do, we already have medical, military, the manufacturing down pat. And we're a $40 billion GDP. But I mean, San Antonio is making $19.2 billion, half of our GDP,
Right.
with tourism as a socioeconomic development tool. 35 million visitors That creates jobs. It lures in corporations. You know, it'll help with our image because right now we have a lackluster image of being a city that says no to everything. You
Exactly.
want to bring something to El Paso? Guess what? You're going to have boisterous opposition groups out there with picket line, picketing and screaming at you and stuff. People already know that about us.
Right.
So what we need to do is we need to just take maybe one anchor at a time, one small tourism anchor, public-private partnership agreement. Otherwise, it's going to just be, rip to shreds and just, like the thing that Max Grossman did with all those people down there. I mean, a lot of people wanted that. I voted for that. 76% of the people in El Paso voted for that. It's true. We were bamboozled or whatever Oscar Leisure said about the price of what an arena like that would actually run. Do
Correct.
we now need a new arena? I don't think so, but I don't think we should put the money back towards the taxpayer
Well,
or
and it
just
and it seems that we didn't do our due diligence either. So I think that folks like Grossman and others, came back to the historical, center of El Paso and said, okay, well, wait a minute. We didn't get the buy-in of the public. And so the city council, they did not do their due diligence and they did not speak, to the people. I know one of the issues to pivot here, you want an increase of the basics, right?
yeah.
And so a part of developing a strong city, in addition to creating tourism, in addition to all that, is equity within each of our districts. So speak to us about sustaining that and what improvements you would make to District 7 in terms of our streets and drainage and infrastructure and things of that nature.
Paul, I've been walking for 2 months and I've been walking 103, 140 degrees every day.
I've heard you've knocked a lot of doors. Is
I've
that
knocked
true?
on 3,100 doors so far, and
That's
I'm
great.
getting really great responses and stuff. And all my signs, people like my signs for some reason. I don't know what it is, but I just had to get 100 signs today because people are calling and, we put one in my yard or whatever. But when I'm walking north of the freeway, the Lower Valley got a lot of stuff. The Rivera administration or whatever, the guy that's outgoing right now, they did a lot of things under. They did medians, they did a lot of paving, a lot of
Hmm.
stuff that hadn't been done in the valley in 40 years. And I mean, you can go down streets like Leo Collins or whatever, there's cracks in the road. I mean, look at the way the golf course, people are very concerned, in Vista Hills about that golf course and what's going to happen with it.
Yes, sir.
They don't want,
So there's inequity in the district
there's inequity in the
where
district.
the money is going.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do to fix that? What are you going to do to address that?
Well, we need to get a couple of other grant writers. I propose to look for more state and federal funding
Hmm.
and bring that in. You know what I'm saying? Bring that in so that we can do more paving projects, more overlays, more speed humps and lighting. Boy, we really need lighting, speed humps, and more asphalt, like you wouldn't believe.
Well, I know
So
the Biden-Harris, administration just brought in the, huge infrastructure, hundreds of millions of dollars that have billions that have gone across the country. And I think it takes a leader on city council to say, hey, these streets, these neighborhoods, these barrios need, this infrastructure help, whether it's lighting, whether it's streets, I've gone to these town hall forums like you, and people can't even walk around the block because the sidewalks are so topsy turvy that you can't even, you know, uh, move a baby down, or you're walking, you have a disability, or you have a visual thing going on, and you can't even walk a city street, or a city sidewalk.
some of the sidewalks, even north of the freeway, are pathetic.
Yeah.
I mean, I've taken pictures from my web pages and stuff from my Instagram where the concrete is cracked with a big giant hole in it. One day I fell down block walking on one of these, and I mean, ugly fell down, even right out of my shoes.
Yeah.
And it's like that everywhere, all over the place. Something has to be done for sure, especially north of the freeway and in some other parts of my district. But I see it all over El Paso. And one of the things, when I was a young lobbyist with the West Texas Urban Forestry Council way back when, one time I went and did this presentation in Austin and stuff with Oscar Mestas, he's a brilliant guy and stuff. So, and we did the PowerPoint and all that, proving that we needed Al Gore monies and stuff.
Hmm.
And afterwards, this one state rep that held the purses for the Al Gore money said, "Mr. Serna, you're one of the most intelligent, articulate Mexicans that I've ever met in my life. Well, why should I give you what you want?" So I
Right.
said, "Sir, didn't you just see the presentation? This is crazy." He said, "Yes, sir. I saw a presentation. It was wonderful. You did a great job. Why should I give you what you want?" And this is what he said. San Antonio votes 28%. Austin votes 32%. Dallas Fort Worth 41%. And you folks out there in West Texas, you vote 11%. Why should I give you what you want? We have 535,000 registered voters, and we're only going to probably pull out 82 to 102,000 votes for a presidential election. And what most people don't understand is that there are federal dollars tied to every person that votes
Right.
in your congressional district every 4 years. So I encourage everybody that's out there, find out if you're registered, and get out there and vote. I don't care who you vote for, but just vote because it benefits our community.
Mr. Serna, it's been great having you. We need people to vote. I hope we're going to get over 200,000 this time in the presidential cycle with good people like you running. Alan Serna for District 7, City of El Paso. Alan, again, thank you so much for running. For more information, they can find you at Alan, no, Serna for 7, right?
Serna for 7.
Sernafor7.com here in the Sun City. And if you are not registered to vote, check that out at vote.org. You can get registered. The deadline for that is October 7th. And great having Alan Serna here on American Voices. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Paul. Thanks for having me.
Hello and welcome back to American Voices. I'm your host, Paul de la Peña, and I have in the studio today Alan Serna. He's running for city council here in El Paso, Texas. That's Serna for 7. Alan, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Paul.
Today, we're going to talk about why you're running for office. And I know that you're a 30-year entrepreneur. You have your own business. You've been working here in El Paso, a native El Pasoan, and you've seen a lot, done a lot. You've been to Europe. Thank you for running, man. I really appreciate that. Why don't you tell us a little bit about, we've spoken about this off mic, the greening of El Paso and the heat index. What is happening in El Paso right now where you as an environmentalist and as a person who can help reshape city council, tell us where you're coming from in that regard.
Okay, well, I have about 30 years experience in the green industry and all kinds of the green industry. I had 3 steel stores and
Nice.
and did a bunch of work for the water department. Basically 40 years of flawed public policy, right? Like they took out all the trees on the levee to keep people from hanging in the bushes or whatever. And then they removed like 13 million square feet of turf with a turf reimbursement program, and they put rocks. It was supposed to be trees and shrubs. But what people did was they just quit watering. So now all you have is people that have all these yards with nothing but rock or concrete. And I'm walking north of the freeway and I'm seeing this a lot. And basically, we have a lot of asphalt surfaces out there and concrete, and it creates an urban heat island.
Right.
We live in an alluvial plain and we have all this particulate matter in the air from the diesels and all the stalled cars on the bridges, just throwing pollution up in the air. And God knows what they burn over in Juarez. But basically, people think El Paso doesn't have any water. El Paso has a lot of water.
Yeah.
It's got an ocean of water underneath it, and it's got other resources that it can pull from in the future. So basically, with purple pipe water, with reclaimed water, what I would want to do is every median in my district and around town if they want to do it. But in my district, what I want to do is I want to put trees and just trees. No more shrubs and more because it becomes a big maintenance headache.
Right.
And a lot of these medians out there that just sit, they're not getting done. It looks horrible. But if we do just trees and we just do trees in every median, I want to do pocket parks. You know what I mean? I want to encourage people.
Well, explain to our listeners about pocket parks. Like what does that mean?
Okay, like for example, there's a piece of land that really we can't do much with. Like let's say South Yarborough, where the
Okay.
Dollar General is or whatever. There's an acre and a quarter piece of triangular, weird shaped
So you're really
property.
not going to develop it. A house is not going to go on there. So
Nothing.
you could
Single.
put something on that property that would help with
Just being dirt.
beautification, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And put some trees in there, maybe a bench or two, a trail through there, whatever. And right across the street from there, there's another little piece of maybe 100 piece by 175 piece that could take a couple of trees.
Right.
You know what I mean? And the purple pipe's already there. Most of the streets have the purple pipe already. So it's reclaimed water that we can't drink. And the only thing we can do with it is use it to green up El Paso. So we green up El Paso, we're going to be doing our part for global climate change. Trees are amazing. They chew up the carbon, they expel oxygen, they bring in the rain clouds, and the rain comes and it'll rain if it's not too hot. We're one of the hottest cities in the United States right now. In the last 50 years, we've gone up 6 to 8 degrees Fahrenheit, and
Wow.
we've all felt that. And scientists are saying that it's not going to get any better unless
Right.
we actually do something and adapt the climate. Then we're probably headed towards another 6 to 8 within the next 20 years. and which will make it like Phoenix.
So the time to plant is now. I know you've had this experience over the last 30 years. You've actually grown trees from seedlings, all
Hmm.
the way to maturity. And so a lot can be said for the plants and the trees, in this case, trees that work in a desert environment. So by adding all these trees, by doing pocket parks, by expanding that footprint all around your district and around the city, um, you does the science tell us that it's going to bring down our temperatures?
Well, it's definitely going to have a positive ambient effect on the temperatures around,
Right.
and it'll cool it down. You know what I mean? Produce more oxygen and stuff. Trees that are lined in streets,
Hmm.
they save taxes, so it's a tax saving measure because it's less asphalt. Because that's what kills the roads is the rain and all the other elements hitting it and
The other
stuff.
chemicals, the
So
runoff, etc.
yeah, so the roads that are tree lined, the asphalt lasts a lot longer. So that is a good issue right there. But it'll definitely make it for sure an aesthetic improvement. I think you'll notice anywhere in town wherever we did prior to the Green Sweep Committee that we created under Joe Wardy, there was hardly no medians that were done. And thanks to Joe Wardy and Dee Wardy, they did about $12 million worth of medians and stuff out there in the city. And we just have to do so much more. I mean, people don't water their yards anymore, their trees or anything. So they think we're running out of water. We're not
Hmm.
running out of water. We need to take care of Mother Nature, or it's gonna just be bad for us. It's gonna be a health issue.
Is there an area of town that actually you can look at and says this neighborhood, this body, or this community, maybe it's a council, that you've looked at around the city, that is the model here, for trees and greenery, grass. I mean that is actually an example, or would you have to look to another city to find that?
You'd probably have to look at another city. I mean,
Yeah.
they did some stuff down in my district in District 7, with some medians, some new medians and things of that nature. Capital Improvements did all these really cool trails and stuff,
Hmm.
but there was a problem with that. And the trails that they did, and I've talked to them about it, they don't call me back or anything. You don't put a big giant tree that's going to grow up to be a 60-foot pine tree, 300 feet in circumference, right next to an oak that's going to 5 feet away from an oak. And if you go look at these trails, that's the problem. And then they leave wide spaces open and they didn't spread them out. They should be spread out at least 20, 25 feet. So I think in this winter, what they should do is take a little caterpillar out there and go out there and all the trees that are nice and dormant and asleep, all the deciduous trees, they need to have holes ready and spread out and retransplant. Because what's going to happen is one tree is going to overpower the other tree for the nutrient, and one tree is going to kill the other tree. You already see that on Border Highway. It's already happening.
So again, your leadership, would really be there to inform and to help, you know, these environmental causes. I mean, we talk about global warming, we talk about the heat, index here in El Paso. I mean, I know when the kids go out, the reason why we have a lower quality of life is because it's so hot outside, especially in the summer. But we have months and months of heat, and the abuelitas, they're out there. They can't be out in the sun. The kids are burning their feet because the pavement is so hot. I mean, we need to be able to rethink this with our quality of life, like you were saying before. And I think that would be, a wonderful thing for El Paso. I think City Council can learn from your experience, and it's going to be great to have you out there. Is there anything else you wanted to speak about? In terms of the environment, the impact, what you'd like to see on City Council.
What I would like to see is everybody get on board and realize that, hey, this global warming thing is for real. It's negatively affecting us now.
Right.
You know what I mean? We're going into more and more drought. It's getting hotter and hotter. We need to do something as a city. We need to green up. Maybe we need to, for pass an ordinance and help the development community out there with the expense, and maybe say, you know what, let's put one tree for every 5 parking spots
Right.
and try to cover up some of this asphalt. You go to shopping centers in San Antonio, right? I mean, they're tree laden, right?
Absolutely.
And
They
it's
have
a
little islands, they're
yeah.
just there.
I
Yeah.
mean, why can't we do what other people's doing? You know what I want for El Paso is I'm tired of all these people that move away from El Paso and they're expatriate El Pasoans that talk bad about us. There's
Right.
even blogs out there, right? El Paso's too hot, it's too dry, it's too brown, it's too this, we're the fattest, we're the ugliest, we're the most uneducated, all these negative stereotypes. You know, what I want for El Paso is I love El Paso more than any other place, you know? And I was one of those kids that, wow, that's cool. Why don't we have this in El Paso, man? Why don't we have this, you know? I want El Paso to be a celebrated city.
Absolutely.
And we have such a wonderful culture to offer. We just need to do a little bit of the aesthetics, green up a little bit, maybe a little bit of tourism. Like I have this idea, right? And that building just went on sale yesterday for $1 million or whatever. But I have this idea. Have you ever been to the Dallas Galleria?
Yes, sir.
And they have the ice skating rink and a food court around it. I would like to do that, but a scaled down version with a food court around it. On the next level, maybe an arcade for the kids. And on the second level, maybe like a t-shirt shops and things of that nature, souvenirs.
Right.
And then on the very top level, accessible to the other side of the street with proper identification, maybe 2 bars for the adults up top.
Hmm.
But you know, these gallerias style malls, these malls with the rinks that are surrounded, you can just look down on them. You know, you can look down on the rink. You could have a beer, have a meal with your friends in an impressive place. Watch your kids or your grandkids ice skate. You know, I've been in these forums and I tell people, and some of these elderly people like the VFW, I told them, hey, first of all, I explained the whole Six Flags SeaWorld deal and stuff and how it's working, taxes on how it'll benefit them the most, right? And then I tell them, raise the hands. How many of your kids have left El Paso or your grandkids? And let me tell you what, almost everybody.
Right.
Mi hijo se fue a Austin. Mi hijo se fue a Dallas, a San Antonio. You know what I mean? We are hemorrhaging our youth. We only grew by 0.1% in a decade. Why Texas is growing 15%, 17%. And it's because they're doing the things that we should be doing, like Austin. You know, look at what Austin did in the last 15 years. One little thing at a time. Formula One, this big rock and roll festival, whatever,
Yeah.
Southwest by Southwest or where. They, you know, it's not just the things that they have, the venues that they have, it's the things that they create. Like what happened to our jazz festival? We don't even have a jazz festival here anymore. In the 80s, we had a great jazz festival. And we just don't have the promotions that we used to have. And we don't have the venues that other people want to come and see, you know? And that's what we need. We need to be greener, cleaner, and funner. And if you do all that, it's all going to fall into place. Our taxes will go down, we'll create jobs, we'll improve our image, and it's a win-win situation for everyone.
Alan Serna for District 7. You can find more information at cerna47.com. Alan, thank you for all the work you're doing. Really appreciate it. I look forward to a greener El Paso with you.
Thank you.
So thank you again. Have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you again.
Thank you, Paul.